here feels busy all the time? Who feels like 80% of the time when they are asked, how are you doing today? Or how's your day been? Or what's going on for you? Busy, or some synonym of that, is pretty much your go-to conversation now. The truth is that Western society in particular has moved towards this state of constant time hustle. We feel like we can never get our impossible to-do list done. And the truth is, you actually can't. Your impossible to-do list is called impossible because it's not possible to do it. The honest truth is that we've shifted towards a place in society where we almost reward the state of being constantly overwhelmed. If you think back in the days of the aristocracy and the peasantry, if you were high class, if you were an aristocrat, if you were a royal, it was a mark of your privilege and your wealth that you had a lot of leisure time. Being busy was almost an insult. You had people to do that for you. And therefore, your importance was measured by the amount of leisure time you had. Then comes the Industrial Revolution, then comes the rise of corporate capitalism, then comes the side hustle culture. And now we live in a world where it's almost the exact opposite. And people who have a lot of leisure time are kind of seen as lazy, or there's an assumption that they're rorting the system or, taking advantage. Whereas people who are out there working 80 hours a week and out there showing all of their 8 side hustles, and they're in this thing and they do this and they're involved in this other thing, they're glorified. And those are the people that we put up on pedestals now. And what it has created is, firstly, the fact that we all look at the people around us who are living these incredibly full lives, full of all of the stuff that they're doing, and feel this guilt that we're constantly not getting ahead or doing more or filling our days more productively. And it also leads, at the flip side of us, to us always feeling like we're too busy. We've got too much to do. Whether it's, you leave this really crazy busy day of getting through your consults, getting through your surgery, bringing back that owner, checking those results, working out what's happening here, having that difficult conversation with that person, working with a supplier, improving things, making stuff better, strategic planning, finances. And then you go home, and depending on your situations, most of us have some version of caring responsibilities, the decision fatigue of what to cook every single night for the rest of your life for dinner. You've got to go to the dentist. You've got to get your car in for service. How on earth are you going to get to work after you put your car in for service? You've got to remember your mother-in-law's birthday party coming up. You've got to remember your kids' friends' birthday presents and what their names are. There's just endless stuff that we have to do. We think that we've taken all of the friction out of the world by making things more convenient and everything being accessible instantly. But actually, what we've done is created this expectation that you can do all of this in a day or a week or a month. And it's just not helping anybody. And that is why we just constantly feel in this state of not being able to get on top of things. So that's what I want to touch on for the next 20 or so minutes, okay? Firstly, the big question is it real? Are we actually more busy? So, first up, let's talk about, are we actually more busy? Is this real? Are we even talking about a real thing? The truth is that they've done a lot of time use studies in society in general, and there is some suggestion that we don't actually have more to do than we ever have before. Across history, people always had to pay bills and hopefully go to the dentist at some point if they were in an era where that was a thing, and take their kids to birthday parties. The difference is twofold. Firstly, that we now expect that we can do it. Back in the day, there was no expectation that you could do more than you could. If you were a medieval farmer, there was no assumption that you could sow your seeds before they were ready. You couldn't milk a month's worth of cows in a week. It didn't work like that. And you just did what could be done that day. And then you took your rests during the day and you took your rests in the evening, because there was always going to be more to do tomorrow. So why hurry the process? You just do what needs doing. The second part of why we're more busy is a little bit more complicated and contentious, but The suggestion is that perhaps for some demographics things haven't changed that much, but particularly for women who historically had to fit all of the life admin into their life, and that kept them busy enough, but now they are doing 80% more work in the workplace, and their work in the home has reduced by about 20%. Whereas men have increased their work in the home by about 12% and kept the same amount of work. So the imbalance there in terms of having to fit all of the things into the week is, by generalization, of course there are exceptions, but by stereotype, women are taking on a lot more of the brunt of all of the impossible things to fit into our lives. So yes, you are justified in feeling like you can't get the impossible to-do list done. But let's talk about what we're going to do to try to overcome some of it, okay? We're going to talk about giving up on the impossible to-do list. We're going to talk about stopping the spiral, some of that mental work, okay? We're going to talk about avoiding thinking that busy equals important, and how do we decide what's actually important to us, really? So giving up on the impossible to-do list, right? As I said before, you've got an impossible to-do list for a reason. It's impossible. You cannot do it. And yet somehow we have decided that if we just create more productivity tools, more checklists, more ways to be more efficient with our time, then we can get better at it. If you do more food prep in the evenings, or if you schedule things better, or if you use an AI assistant for your diary, somehow those things will miraculously make your impossible list possible. The honest truth is it won't. The more productive you make yourself, the more efficiency tools you fit into your life, the more that gap creates space for you to be expected to fit more things into your life. We're not making the space so that we can do less. We make the space so that we fit in more. So it's a nasty vicious cycle that just keeps getting worse. And that's how we've ended up where we are right now, by focusing on productivity and efficiency. So my challenge to you is stop trying to be more efficient. Give up on the belief that you can finish your to-do list, and just choose what won't get done today or this week or this month. Strategically make your choices about, if I only get 2 things done by the end of today, which things will I be disappointed if I didn't do? So it might be that today, if you don't manage to have that difficult conversation with that person and you don't pay that bill that's due today, then you'll be quite upset at the end of the day you didn't manage those things. Anything after that is just a bonus. But you need to be realistic. 2 things only that are important and urgent today, and everything else falls by the wayside, right? Or is a really nice bonus if you happen to sneak it into while you were doing something else and it just happened to work. We need to start making the truth that we can't do it all okay. So that means if this week you have decided that you've got this really big thing on at work and you're not going to do the washing at home, stop caring that you didn't do the washing at home. Tell any people that it might be relevant to that their washing will not be done. If they would like it done, they're welcome to step up and do it themselves. And that's it. We'll be ordering takeout this week. Conversely, okay, we've done a big month at work last month. I really want to spend this month spending time with my kids. And that's where you tell your work, hey, all of that time in lieu I've got built up, I'm going to be finishing early an hour every day for the next month. Remember, we talked about the soft and hard boundaries? This is where you start to use them, right? You start strategically making a plan for what things are you going to fail at today? What things are you going to allow yourself to not get done? Do you know what happens if you pay your power bill late? Absolutely nothing. They'll send you a reminder a few months or a few weeks later. After a month, they kind of send you a "this is urgent" reminder. Can we help you in some way? I regularly forget about which bills are due because I can't remember which ones are on direct debit and which ones aren't. And I've never had an overdue charge for it. The truth is, I regularly miss a bill. I can't remember what I put on direct debit and what I need to pay by credit card there and then. And you know what? I've never had an overdue charge. Just accept that you won't be able to do it all. You don't actually need to turn up to a party of your kids' friends that they saw once a month back in your mum's group and you haven't seen since with a present. I mean, you don't have to go at all. Saying no is not a failure. But if you don't have a present, do you know who's going to notice? Nobody. Just you. Do you know who's going to care if the kid's birthday party cake is from Coles and you've put some whipped creams on top and some sprinkles instead of home baking it for 3 hours? Nobody. Probably not even your kid. They just want pink and sprinkles. So stop putting this expectation that you can do all of this stuff onto yourself, because honestly, it is you putting that onto yourself. Just say out loud, yeah, I'm not going to do those things, at least not this week. Accept that your impossible list is impossible and just pick 2 things today. Everything else is a bonus. Next trick. I want you to stop the spiral, okay? There's a really strong internal built-in system in your brain that when you say something out loud, your brain believes it more. So physiologically, for every time you talk about how busy you are or how overwhelmed or how stressed or how slammed or whatever word you're using, your brain actually gets more and more ingrained in that belief. And there's a few problems with that. A, your brain starts to produce those stress hormones associated with it. B, you've got nowhere to escalate to. If you're slammed every week, then suddenly one week when you're really genuinely not coping, you don't have a new language to articulate that. So people just think it's just normal and they don't do anything to support you. But C, and maybe more importantly, remember we talked about emotion contagion. If you are in a workplace or even in your home life and all you're talking about is busy, it becomes a kind of one-upmanship. Everybody feels like they have to talk about how busy they are as well. And if ask somebody, if somebody asks you how you're going and you're like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed, and they're sort of thinking, I was having a fairly nice, relaxed morning. Oh gosh. Oh no. Does she think I'm lazy? Oh no. Oh God. Do I have to do more? Am I a terrible human? Or do I just have to lie and say, oh yes, I'm really busy too? Have you ever been in those conversations with people with, oh, well, I'm more busy because of this. Oh, my kid didn't sleep last night. Oh, well, my kid didn't sleep and it was vomiting. Well, it just becomes this one-upmanship of how crazy our lives are. And it sets a culture whereby it's not okay to not feel overwhelmed. We have created a society in which we martyr people who skip their lunch breaks and are here late and wrote up all their notes at home. So the more we do this, the more we talk about it, the more we buy into that, we reinforce the world that expects it right back at us. And that's not great for us. It's not great for our colleagues. It's not great for young, impressionable people who are looking up to us. You've got new grad vets or young nurses who are looking around, well, what do people do here? What's the work ethic? What's the culture? And if you're not saying, well, my culture is that I like my life and I take appropriate time and I don't set myself impossible expectations, then how are they going to know to do that? So this is where the words that we choose can come into play. So I want to give you the challenge of looking out for your language about busy. And I say the word busy, any synonym of, all right? Don't take me literally on this. Next time you are asked how you are, just don't talk about the busy part. Just, why does it have to be about that? Why is that the conversation? Can't we talk about, yeah, well, actually, I'm really hungry. I'm really sore foot. Or I'm really excited about. Just just don't allow that to become our prevailing conversation culture. But if that's not possible, if busy really is what's on your mind and is the appropriate conversation to have right now, and you're not going to, impact someone else's sense of self by talking about it, then I want you to do a couple of things. Firstly, I want you to try to find a busy and. What did you do with your busy that makes it worthwhile? What have you contributed to the world or to yourself or to someone around you with how overwhelmed and busy you've been? So that might mean busy, and I saved a life this morning, so we're still catching up. Busy, and I know that that owner really appreciate the extra time that I spent with them on the euthanasia, and it made a huge difference to them. Busy, and you should have seen my kid's face when I showed up at her school assembly, and it's so worth it to be running behind for the rest of the day. Busy, and I'm so pleased that I'm privileged enough to be able to step into someone else's role as well as mine to get this learning opportunity. What is your busyness worth? Because that stops you from entering this cycle of victim martyrdom whereby we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. We start to talk about, well, why was it worth it? This was a choice. What did I do with it? And now, if that is not possible, if you try to finish the sentence, busy and I did something great with it, then I need you to say, well, busy, but what are you doing about it? So busy, but I've asked reception to book me off 20 minutes later to catch up on my breaks. Busy, but I've got dinner with friends tonight and I'm looking forward to debriefing. Busy, but I've got a week of week of leave coming up next week. Busy, but I've talked to my manager about my workload and we're trying to make a plan to reduce it. If your busy is not contributing to you or the world or somebody around you, if it is not necessary, I need you to have, what are you doing about it? Why is this finite? And how are you stopping this becoming your state of being from now? Okay. And if you can do none of those things, if you can't change the conversation, if you can't think of why it was worth it, and you can't come up with what you're going to do about it, then your fourth step is to seek help. You need to talk to somebody objective who's going to help you redesign what's going on for you or get you help or support. Might be your boss, might be your partner, might be a psychologist, might be a coach. Either way, I need you to acknowledge if you can't do either of those three things, then you're allowing your busyness to become a state of being, and that's not going to be enjoyable very soon. The third thing we're going to do to stop the spiral is opt out of the busy equals important competition, right? What that means is stop the martyrdom. Let's embrace the fact that it is nice and pleasant and a good thing to just be steady. I always say when I coach leaders that your ultimate job should be to make yourself obsolete. You should be able to leave the building for a month and nothing fall to pieces without you. Sure, maybe things doesn't improve, but if you have made yourself so indispensable that you can't go away on leave, you can't take your weekends off, you can't leave the work building on time, then you have done something to set yourself up as everybody's fallback, everybody's problem solver. Now, again, there's going to be finite periods in your life where you're about to launch a new thing, when you've got a really tricky case that's just on you and you really don't want to hand it over because it's your mother-in-law's dog, or when you've got this animal that you're taking particular focus on. That's fine. When you have periods of going, I want to be here. But you've got to then remember this is your choice. This is what you've chosen of your two things that you have to do today. And we're not going to use that to show that we're worth it. This is a particular challenge for people in management, particularly middle management type roles, where we always wonder whether our staff are wondering what did they even do. Sometimes our staff even genuinely ask that. And so we have this need to prove how much we do and how indispensable we are and that we know all the answers to the questions. But we're not serving them. We're not empowering them. We're just making them dependent on us being so important that they can't live without us. So I need you to start thinking the best thing that you can do, both for your team, your colleagues, your kids, your family, is to know that busy and important are not linked. Busy work, where you're stuck doing stuff, clearing your inbox, running around after all of these things, it is very rarely the stuff that actually has impact in the world. Spend your time on the things that matter, because we can easily spend 80% of our energy on the 20% of impact. Flip it. Spend 80% of your energy on the things that are really going to make a difference. And last but not least, kind of comes back to the first point. When we talk about busyness, I want you to take, the principle of decide what two things you want to achieve today and anything else is a bonus. I want you to apply that principle to your life. I really want you to think about if you only get two things done this week or this year or in the next 40 years and everything else was just a bonus, but those two things you'll be disappointed if you didn't get done, then really trying to make your choices about what you let fall and what you fail at and what drops off your impossible list around those things. Now, for some people, that might be the time with their kids. For some people, that might be having a particular impact on their career. For some people, that might be traveling the world. Or it might be a year goal. What I really want to do by the end of this year is finish my memberships or get this certificate or get a promotion at work or whatever that looks like to you. I want you to break down the two priorities rule and scale it up. If you're interested in this stuff, one of my favorite books of all time, 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, really, really challenges you to push your perspective on this and stop falling into these traps of spending all of your time and energy and emotional investment on the stuff that feels busy, so we feel important, but isn't really the stuff that you're going to look back on your life and be pleased that you did. Okay? Good luck.